Everybody, welcome episode 7 of the Bardi Shop. I'm your host, Steve Bardi, here with an incredible guest, Mr. Mike Movsovitz. Mike, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone. How you doing?
So this meeting, this podcast we're doing tonight is literally the foundation of why I started this podcast. So Mike is a friend of mine on Facebook. We've known each other going back to, what year did we work at Foot Action together? Was it 97, 8?
97, 96.
Jesus, man. So
Thereabouts.
Mike watched the episode we did with Eric Fusco and got inspired by that. So he hit me up on Facebook Messenger, shared a story with me. And as I'm listening to this, I'm like, dude, this is a phenomenal episode all on its own. We need to get you on the show like as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, I still had the construction going on in my house, so some time passed. But we're here now, and I'm dying to get him to tell this story to you folks because it is like Eric's. It was beautiful. It's inspiring. It's sad. It's emotional. But it is such a redemption story. It is phenomenal. So let's take this back to last time I saw you back in like the late 90s. We were working at Foot Action. Tell me like age, height, weight. Fill everybody in with where you're at that point in your life.
So back in the late 90s, I was around 6'3", and
Not
I
me.
am
A little shorter.
I'm around. Back then, I was around 400 pounds. My first daughter was born, and I went from working at Foot Action to work at a desk job. So
Never
I was
helps.
overweight to begin with, but this just my weight just ballooned.
What are the genetics in your family like? Is this something that other members of your family battle with, or is it?
Yeah, some of my other family members do suffer from weight. Unfortunately, a lot of my family members have a early mortality.
Really?
They passed away early. My grandfather passed away at 54 years old.
Jesus.
My father passed away when he was 56. So some of them I didn't even get the opportunity to meet.
Yeah.
But definitely obesity runs in the family.
So 6'3", 400 and something pounds. Mentality-wise, what does that do to you? And the reason I ask is I remember you as a barrel of laughs, dude. You were the life of the party. You were the reason it was fun to go to work. You were awesome to be around.
Oh, thank you.
You were just, he was like this ray of light. I don't care if your dog just got hit by a car. This kid would find a way to bring you out of that hole. So, and I think that's important to point out because you look at a lot of people, they hide their pain and their emotional struggles with humor. I use my sense of humor and my humility as a defense mechanism most of my life. Like I spent a lot of my life poking fun at myself as a way to break the ice and kind of make myself more comfortable around people. So tell me a little bit about your mentality. What was it like, if you remember back then?
I do remember, and I just want to thank him for those kind words. But the interesting thing is, while I had this really great, fun guy, life of the party type attitude, when I would go home at night, it would be rather depressing. I dealt with a lot of physical issues. I was in a lot of physical pain. I don't know if you remember some of our shifts at the end of the night. I could barely walk.
I do remember. I do.
Yeah, that was very tough to deal with. And that, I was young. So when you're young and you're not able to move like you should at that age, it takes a toll on you. And that's when, similar to yourself, I use the humor to mask it.
Yeah. It's an easy way out. I mean, God rest his soul, but you look at guys like Robin Williams, what a level that guy achieved, how hysterical he was. And deep down inside, he was rotting and dying on the inside, So it's hard because people like you and I, we don't show it externally. We don't wear those emotions on our sleeves. We hide it. And it's tough. Like I got picked on a lot when I was a kid. I was small. I think most people thought I was a little girl when I moved to Coventry. But, it's weird. You kind of hold all that stuff in, but it manifests itself down the road at certain points in your life. So tell us some of the things you did from, I don't know, say like the early 2000s up until like, 5-10 years ago. Like what was life like for you?
Well, life was, pretty stable in the sense that my routine was the same. My father passed away in early 2000, and that had a very big effect on me.
So someone who's already struggling with these depression and so forth, I'm assuming. It just compounds it.
Absolutely. And I had this desire to live a hard life, which included a lot of partying and a lot of excess.
I remember Club Eagles. I remember Club Eagles.
Club Eagles, and it was
I remember.
one of the many, yeah.
Once again, the life of the party.
The life of the party. So, and I just sort of pushed forward with that.
Yeah.
I struggled at the end of the night, but it was the way to mask just the feelings that I had.
Yeah, you drink, you do what you have to do.
Drink, drink and smoking and what have you, and a lot of eating as well. Food, in some ways, maybe I can say I was a food addict.
It's a lot of research now is showing that people tend to turn to food because when you're holding in anxiety, depression, stress, it elevates your cortisol levels. I actually have written down somewhere like the physical manifestations of cortisol. But blood sugar, having adverse effects on your blood sugar is one of them. So you actually will crave certain foods, which is not healthy for you, but you kind of gravitate towards them anyway. And I think a big thing that a lot of people neglect to talk about, excuse me, is support system. You either have a great one or you really don't. So tell us a little bit about that. What was your support system like?
Unfortunately, my support system was a little lacking. I'm currently divorced, but I was married at the time. And it wasn't a good relationship because I was with someone that was an enabler. Mm-hmm. So even if I had a period where I wanted to improve myself, whether it be cut down on drinking or cut down on partying or even just eating healthier, there wasn't someone to cheer me on.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things I struggled with.
It just makes it harder at that point. You look at like a lot of relationships, a lot of marriages. You have people that perhaps got married for the wrong reason because they had a child. And I'm not saying this is you, but just your lives are just going in two different directions. You're kind of destined to fall apart at that point.
Yeah.
So I have actually an episode that I'm shooting tomorrow is I think it's called Change Your Perception, Change Your World. I forget the title, but basically the underlying issue is the underlying theme of that episode is going to be your toleration point. Like your life will be based on what you're willing to tolerate. So at some point you had to hit that breaking point where you were no longer willing to tolerate how you felt physically, how you felt emotionally. You wanted to deal with the emotions you're feeling inside. What was that toleration? What was that breaking point for you? It's different for everybody, and I find that very fascinating. What was your breaking point?
Well, you're going to find this kind of amazing, Steve, but a year ago, I was walking with a cane and I was on disability.
Mm-hmm. I remember you mentioned that.
And
yeah.
That was my breaking point. At my age, my doctors were talking about permanent disability, and I was heading towards a life of potentially being bedridden. I had severe neuropathy. I couldn't even walk 500 feet at some time.
Really?
And I felt that I was dying. I literally felt that I was dying. And I said to myself, either something happens now or this is it.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I had some personal things go on in my life. I had a relationship issue. And I said, I have to do this for me. No one's going to be able to help me.
You have to be selfish at that point.
Yeah.
So I find it irritating, but ironic at the same time that when someone in your situation chooses to better yourself, to take control of your life, to handle all these adverse things that are coming at you and change for the better, you tend to catch shit for it from some people. Or like your changes tend to affect people around you. You know what I mean? So it's like you really have to be selfish. You have to take these things on your own and begin to learn to rely on just yourself. And that's hard. It's a massive undertaking to deal with.
No, you couldn't be more right. Because even with the accomplishments I've made over the past year, some of the people that were concerned about my health when I was in disrepair and I couldn't walk and my blood sugar would sometimes go over 500, those are the same people now that don't want to hear about my success. It's almost they enjoyed the necessity of taking care of me.
Well, that and how can I put this because I don't know these people, but make it sound nice. I find that people tend to relish when people are struggling, but when you pull yourself out of that struggle and you become your own success story, you're the hero of your own story, Nobody likes that. It's very rare that people like that because they're jealous because you've done something physically, emotionally, and psychologically that they are not capable of. Because you know what it took to get you to this point. They don't have that.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you.
And it's a hard thing to say because it's usually people that are close to you, they're within your circle, could be family members, but it's the sad truth. Like, you've accomplished something that a lot of people will never do. So it's just Steph Vito. When you listen to this tonight, she's my contact over at Blue Cross. I was telling her about this episode tonight, and she's going through the same thing right now. She's making progress. She's doing good. She's 3 weeks into her diet, but the family's starting to get on her for it. I'm like, now is the point where most people will quit. Keep pushing. Keep pushing. Don't stop. So don't. I just literally just had this discussion today. So no, and it's hard, but that's that one little roadblock, letting other people's perception of you change your reality, will literally cripple your progress. So I'm glad you didn't do that. That's hard.
Yeah, no, it is. It's tough. And even sometimes just the way I viewed myself, my perception of myself would slow me down. You know that self-doubt that would creep up every now and then. And it's just a matter of believing yourself, pushing forward, and even if you do slip up and have a meal that go in the wrong direction, get back on track.
So you know what I love now, and this is just for me. Like, I've been working out and I'm bringing this up because I know you're at this point. When people question how'd you do it, when they give you that look, like, oh, how do you do that? How do you do this? How do you eat like that? How do you wake up so early? To me, that's like fuel. I think about that. My alarm clock goes off at 3:30 the next day. I'm like, all you people will never be able to do this because you can't wake up. You literally can't wake up in the morning and push yourself to do something. But these are the same people who will get up every single day and force themselves to go to a job that they hate, to deal with a boss that they hate, eat shit all day, come home and be miserable. You would rather do that than to just adjust your schedule, adjust your life, and chase a dream. You know what I mean? Like, you look at the options, and it's mind-boggling.
It blows my mind because while I love hearing people saying that I did something special, in some ways, I don't feel that I did.
I don't either.
I just made some right choices, and I continue to make the right choices, and together they made these results.
Now, let me ask you this, because I go back and forth with this myself, my own head. Would you change the path your life has taken if you could do it all over again?
You know, a lot of people say, I wish I did it sooner. I don't wish I did it sooner.
Doesn't it, when you get to where you are mentally, and you have that vision, you've hit it, and it's like, okay, next goal. I feel like these things happen at the exact moment they're supposed to. Like, you hit your toleration point, and you've gotten to where you are right now at this exact point in your life for a reason. What that reason is, who knows? But I just feel like everything happens when you hit that moment of clarity. It was meant to happen at that point.
No, I could absolutely. I don't think I was ready for the success earlier on. I don't think I could even appreciate what
I love that you called it success. That's exactly what it is. It is. Yeah. And I think a lot of people wouldn't look at it that way, but this is success. Like, you've done the one thing that most people never do, and you have taken control of your life with your own two hands. I have a big issue with people who like follow the news, religion, all this stuff, and they let all these outside factors influence them and their perception of the world. You're focusing on things you cannot control. You, on the other hand, literally found the one thing that you can control, and you've completely grabbed the bull by the horns. It's an awesome
Thank
thing.
you so much.
That is such an awesome thing to accomplish, and it is success. It's different than making money. It's different than getting a promotion at a job. It feels better. And now that, like this, what we're doing right now, I know for a fact other people are going to hear this just like you did, and your story is going to help change somebody else's life. I love that.
I would love to hear it because I've heard so many stories throughout my life that have influenced me. Mm-hmm. And the situation is, I truly believe that anyone who wants this and focuses can do it. You know, you talk about outside sources. I really didn't gather much help from the outside. This wasn't a doctor someone that said, this is what you need to do. I took little bits and pieces of what I bits and pieces of what I needed, and just sort of put it together, and the results happened. You know.
I like that because you basically taught yourself the right way to do this. I have a big issue with like the modern education system because it's very vanilla, it's very cut and dry. It's just memorize shit or you're dumb or you fail. Yeah. Not everyone learns that way. You know what I mean? So what you just said, I think to me, and that's actually another episode I'm going to do, is like the education system. But you literally taught yourself in a way that you would receive this information, retain it, and implement it. And it's some people look for other people, like you look for motivating factors outside of yourself. Doesn't work. No, you have to be able to do it yourself.
Every time that I tried to make any effort to lose weight or make any improvement in my life, when I was following someone, I would get discouraged if I wasn't following the same pace that they were doing it at. Yeah. And this is the first time, as it relates to weight loss, I said, what anyone does in this world is irrelevant. It just has to be what's going to work for me.
Yeah.
You know, we're all different heights, we're different weights, we have different metabolisms. I said, what can I dial into my body? And it worked.
And now you're just clicking on all cylinders. It's like you're like that train from Unstoppable. Like there's nothing going to get in your way. So I want to read something. When you sent me this email last week, I just want to go over, and then we could talk about this a little bit, but some of the health conditions.
Absolutely.
Let me see. I lost and gained weight throughout the years. Lowest I went before this was 300 pounds. Tell me about your heart attack.
I had a mild heart attack at 33 years old. It was the result of being in a very traumatic situation.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a situation where there was just a lot of activity going on, you could say, and I was overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And as a result, I had a mild heart attack. They gave me the nitroglycerin, and spent some time in the ER. Unfortunately, I never really took my health seriously.
Yeah.
So rather than follow up with that and go to a cardiologist, I blew it off. Yeah. I literally blew it off.
Most people
do. And I
do.
just went about my daily business. And, I saw doctors throughout the years, and they did exams, but it wasn't specific to someone that had a mild heart attack.
What did it feel like? What was the experience like?
Well, when I factor in the emotions that I experienced that same day, the pain was secondary because I was dealing with so many other things. It was an accident, you can say. So witnessing this accident caused me to have the heart attack. I was on the phone 911, and so I don't really remember the physical sensation, but I do remember the mental sensation of just being the sweating. I did sweat, overwhelmed, and realizing that something was wrong. Yeah,
that's crazy. So tell me about from February of 2019 when you really started to drop a substantial amount of weight. Tell me about that. Yeah. Tell me about that, but more importantly, I'm curious what your daily routine was and then what it became. Like some of the changes you implemented throughout your daily routine.
Okay. So February, we're approaching a year. I started to really take weight loss seriously. I said, this is not something I'm just going to cut down on calories, or I'm going to, maybe not drink soda. I'm going to revamp the way that I eat. And in terms of taking little bits and pieces, I watched some documentaries, and I don't recall the name of it, but one of the things that really stood out was using food as a fuel as opposed to a comfort. And all my life, I've been a nervous eater or a happy eater or a sad eater. Whatever the situation was, I was eating. So I said, let me take a different approach and say, let me just eat when I really need to and process my own emotions without the food. And that was the first major step. So instead of grazing at my desk all day.
That is such an awesome way to look at it. Attaching each of your emotions to food. Yeah. And you just stop doing that.
Yeah. Well, think about it. Birthday, let's have some birthday cake.
Oh, I know.
Oh, if there's a funeral, let's have a huge spread.
I know.
It doesn't matter what you're celebrating. Weddings,
it's a social thing. Alcohol, food. Yeah.
So, alcohol.
Hookers.
You get a promotion.
Whatever.
Let's go out drinking. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Well, those are good for all the time. No,
Yeah,
just joking.
that could be a Tuesday. It doesn't make.
Whoa. Yeah.
So that's I've never heard that analogy before. I've never had anyone explain that way, that they literally detach the emotions from the food and just looked at. I mean, you should look at it as a fuel source, but the first part of that is that's hard because your whole life you've programmed your brain to food was that it operates off of your emotions.
Yeah. A lot of my stories that I tell revolve around food, so I had to sort of disassociate with that. And then it was a matter of looking at the fuel that I'm putting in my body.
The quality of it, yeah.
The quality of it. And I shifted to a whole plant-based diet.
Okay.
Very, very minimal animal-based products. Mm-hmm. Have some eggs every now and then. I don't necessarily identify as a vegan, but I stay away from, red meat and even chicken, And I also did some research. And I found that when you go into the produce section of a supermarket, all those colors were calling me. And I read that, certain reds have these vitamins and minerals, and the greens have these vitamins and minerals. So I took almost a scales approach, taste the rainbow, and all of my meals have all the colors. A variety of colors. Have the reds. Yeah.
I'd be interested to see what the name of that. If you remember what that documentary is, let me know, because I would like to watch that. I'm curious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's so many of them now. I watched someone recently.
There's so many.
The guy who lives on McDonald's for like 30 days. He was like almost dead after a month.
Yeah.
Supersize me.
Yeah. Supersize me, yeah.
I wonder if I can get famous if I just live off Sonic for 30 days. It's the same thing, but why not just do it?
You're never going to know unless you try.
Let's find somebody we don't like and have them do it.
There we go.
So you switch to a plant-based diet, some eggs for protein and so forth. How many times a day were you eating?
Prior to doing this, I was eating, 5-6 times a day, literally. Little meals, but I ate all day long. It's not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
And I ate fattening food, and I really loved it because it was that emotional connection that I had. But what I tried to do in addition to the plant-based is I try to fast. And not a 24-hour fast, but I do like an 18-6.
Oh, the intermittent fasting is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I didn't do it to the point where I was every day, but I was doing it a couple times a week. Mm-hmm. And I realized I was eating way more than I needed to.
Oh, yeah.
Way more. It's like, where was I putting this?
Your body just stores it.
Just stored it. And I decided to get rid of that fuel that's been sitting in my stomach for so long.
So what's the total amount of weight you've dropped?
As of today, since February, I'm at 130 plus pounds.
Really?
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
And actually, I dropped 49 pounds since July 15th.
What were you doing differently for that last 49?
I think my body just readjusted.
Probably. Your metabolism is probably firing on all cylinders right now.
And if I was really to look at it, I was using a little cheese back then, so I reduced the amount of cheese.
Cutting out dairy.
Get a little bit leaner, and I'm also exercising a lot more too.
What do you do for exercise? What's your regimen like?
My primary exercise is walking, and the interesting thing is I mentioned earlier, a year ago I had a cane. 500 feet would be a struggle due to the neuropathy and.
Yeah, you sent me pictures like your steps and everything.
Yeah,
almost 30,000 steps a day. That's like getting chased by a dog. Okay?
Yeah, it's amazing. Labor Day weekend, I walked over 25 miles in 2 days.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, in New York City, walked over 25 miles.
Jeez, well, you have to walk that fast. Nobody lets you stop over there.
Yeah, exactly.
You have no choice.
Now, the interesting thing is, I don't know if I mentioned this, my right foot, I shattered my right foot 5 years ago.
No.
I jumped off a wall, shattered it, and because I had such bad neuropathy, I didn't realize it for 11 days.
Are you kidding me?
So I walked on a broken foot for 11 days.
You know who Dave Goggins is? Have you ever heard of Dave Goggins?
No, I haven't.
When you get a chance, look up Dave Goggins. He was, what do you call it, Navy SEAL. But he runs 100-mile marathons. He ran 8 in a row, 8 weekends in a row, 100-mile marathons with shattered bones in his foot and his shin. This is you.
Really?
You are the new Dave Goggins.
Well, I don't know about my Navy SEAL, but walked around with a broken foot, and the doctor, I remember sitting there saying, okay, we can send you to Connecticut, 6 months in the hospital.
Oof.
You have that thing, remember Vinny Paz had
Yes.
that head, he goes, you're going to have that on your leg.
Oh,
No moving. He goes, and the best part is, if it doesn't work, we get to take your foot. I'm like,
Take your,
amputation. That's it.
oh, like Game of Thrones. You're done.
That's it. If I get an infection, because it's going to have all these holes,
Yeah.
my diabetes was out of control, he goes, you're going to lose your foot.
Oh my God.
He goes, or you can just walk around like this. I said, I'll walk around like this. So I have about a 2-inch bone that sticks out of my right foot.
Really?
Yeah, not like it's covered in skin, but yeah.
I'm just walking around with a compound fracture.
Yeah, yeah.
No big deal.
It's a gauze that's covered. Yeah.
It's like a second foot growing. No big deal.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, given the options, yeah, I absolutely would have just dealt with it. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Well-
so I was forced to wear a brace for the past 5 years. And I remember my doctor saying, he goes, well, if you weren't so overweight, we might even be able to use an inner sole.
Yeah.
And we go way back. I love sneakers.
Oh, hell yeah.
They wanted to make me a custom shoe. Like, it wouldn't even look like a cool New Balance. So, so I've been forced to wear this brace for 5 years.
That's a long time, man.
And it restricted all the shoes I wore.
Really?
And I had to buy a shoe a size bigger, and it looked like I was wearing the box on my right foot. And I already have a 14 to begin with, so it was a horrible look.
Like Frankenstein foot.
So one of the milestones that I hit was I lost enough weight, I don't have to wear a brace anymore.
Good for you, man. Good for you. That's awesome.
That's huge. I get to wear shoes again.
I know. I used to be so into sneakers at that point. Now I run Chuck Taylors year round.
Yeah.
It's cheap. I could give a shit.
Yeah. I just like the options. I go shopping at the outlet, so I'm not going to go to Foot Action, but...
No, please. It's not like it used to be.
No.
So if there was, let's pretend for a minute that this is your show. I'm in your position. I'm where you were 5 years ago. I'm stuck. I'm depressed. I don't have a support system. I don't know where to start. What would be your advice to kind of break things down into an absorbable format to kind of simplify this process? Because it is daunting and overwhelming to look at. It's very hard to just look at like where you want to be and ignore everything that has to take place in between. I think that's, people get overwhelmed with that and they quit before they ever start. So if you could simplify or give advice to someone, give advice to yourself when you're in your lowest point, what would it be?
Well, I'll tell you the advice that worked for me. And this is the system that I use. And it's basically the one decision at a time system. Mm-hmm. I'm not worried about what I'm going to do tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I'm not worried about what I'm going to do a week from now or a month from now. Yeah, I know I wanted to lose over 100 pounds, but I needed to lose 1 pound to do it. Mm-hmm. And then I need to lose 2 and 3. So it's literally when I have food in front of me, I say, is this going to better me? Mm-hmm. Or is this just going to be a waste?
Yeah.
Is this plate of food right here going to be the thing that I need? Or is it just going to be for emotion?
Yeah.
And I still have a piece of cake every now and then. And
you have to.
I don't deprive myself, have a nice meal.
But it's better when you earned it. Doesn't it taste better when you earn it?
Oh, it tastes so much better, yeah.
And you don't hate yourself afterwards. Like, you don't have to worry about, like last night, Brianna made 2 trays of homemade chocolate chip cookies. I think I put down like 13 last night. That was emotion.
Wow.
Like, I felt like a bag of smashed assholes when I got up today.
Yeah.
I felt like a jerk. And I'm probably going to finish them tonight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I might help you.
That's why she made them.
Yeah.
But the reason I asked that question is because I was hoping you were going to give me an answer along the lines, but you gave me the exact answer I was looking for, is it's one step at a time. One of the greatest lines I heard out of, I think it was the last Creed movie, or the first Creed movie with Rocky. One step, one punch, one round. I want to get that tattooed somewhere. Like just one step, one punch, one round. It's literally just one thing at a time. Everything we do as humans is broken down into steps. Your alarm clock goes off. You get up. You eat. You brush it. Everything is a series of steps to get you to where you need to be at the end of the day. I think people have a hard time seeing the connection between what we do every day as human beings and what you need to do to accomplish everything you've done so far. because it's overwhelming, but you can't look at it that way. You can't think about everything in between. And that's, I'm a big fan. Like I have these two little boards up here on the wall. One of them was meant to be a vision board, because on that board I want to put all the things that I would like to accomplish through this podcast, through the online business that I'm starting. And it's hard. It's time. It's a lot of work, But but like you said, it's just you really want to have short-term vision at that point. You just want to handle what's directly in front of your face.
Yeah,
all right, cool. So
because I can say when I started this, my goal was 250 pounds. And I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would weigh 250 pounds.
what are you at, 199 right now?
199. I felt like 199 to 205.
Stand up for a second. This is the 2020 version of twins, Schwarzenegger and DeVito, right here.
There we go. Love it. So yeah.
So I'm actually 11 pounds heavier than you. Jesus Christ, I gotta stop eating cookies. Take those cookies home with you. I don't want
to. I've had the lead my whole life, so don't worry. I'm just handing the torch.
I don't mind falling second. So, to wrap this all up, all the medical conditions and the issues you were dealing with before, has everything subsided?
Everything has subsided. Couple things, diabetic type 2.
Mm-hmm.
At one time, my A1C was as high as 12.
Mm-hmm.
When I started doing this, I was on medications. I was on Trulicity, Metformin, Jomulant. Messed up my stomach.
Oh, I can imagine.
It was horrible. Injections once a week. And my A1C was still high. I was still like 7.5.
So for those who don't know, what is a healthy A1C level?
A healthy A1C would be under 6. Mm-hmm. I want to say 6.5, mm-hmm. in that range. For someone like myself, my doctor was just trying to get me to 7.
Yeah.
And I couldn't reach 7. The medication just wasn't doing it for me. Today, no medication. It's 5.5.
That's fantastic,
5.5,
dude.
yeah.
So you literally accomplished all of this with no help from an MD. No nutritionist.
No nutritionist, just...
Literally living, walking physical proof in my home right now that your doctors are probably not going to help you. Because if I'm...
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking doctors, but for the most part, you figured all this out on your own.
Yeah, some of the doctor's suggestions was, here's some pills. Here's more pills.
Yep.
Or just lay down. Make sure you have a cane by your side. Those were the types, and you're eligible for permanent disability. Those were the suggestions that I got from my physician.
Lay down, have a cane nearby, you're eligible for permanent disability.
Have a cane, here's some pills. That's it.
So at our age, laying down with a cane and permanent disability is literally like handing you a ticket to the train of permanent depression. Yeah. I can't even imagine.
That's it. It was horrible. Yeah.
And it's got to be discouraging that these are the healthcare professionals that you put your trust in, and this is the advice they're giving you.
Yeah. I mean, literally, some would say, there's nothing I can do for you. And I go, there's nothing you can do for me. And a healthy diet and changing...
But they don't talk about that.
Common sense.
But they don't talk about that.
They don't.
So everyone that's listening and watching, because I want you to really listen to what he's telling you right now, because this is a big thing of mine. When I had my store, and even when I was back at Performance Nutrition, a lot of people would come in and they would have these conversations with their doctors. And it was all very similar to this. I mean, this goes from weight loss to anxiety, depression. It's funny. They have a pill for everything. I love the fact that you did this, despite the fact that all these professionals somewhat turned their back on you and didn't try to do what you did for yourself. Because like I said, before we actually started recording this episode, we were having a discussion about some of the issues I have with doctors, is that if you're not sick, you're no good to them. They're not there to be your friend. I mean, they're on a large level, they're salesmen. They need you sick. Like, I'll come back in 2 weeks. Let me know if the medication's working. Well, if it's working, why do I have to come back? Just stupid shit like that.
Yeah, exactly. Why do you think about it? And when you think of it, even the pharmaceutical reps, they make a ton of money.
Oh, God, they do.
Pushing their drugs.
Mm-hmm.
They live a very, very nice life. And it's for a reason. They want to, it's all profit driven.
Your health is not their concern. So you said when you're taking these medications, it created a lot of digestive issues for you, a lot of issues with your stomach?
Horrible digestive. nausea, and I also felt like I constantly had a nervous stomach.
Yeah.
You know, that pit in
Well, it
your
was giving you
stomach.
IBS probably.
Yeah.
So on top of all this, the weight, the moving around, you have a cane, you're struggling with depression. Now you have all these internal issues going on with your stomach, and none of your health issues are going away. So it's just
No, they were
literally just compounding the problem.
Compounding the problem. And then, you can't deny there was a mental association as well.
Of course.
It's depressing to be in a situation like that.
Of course it is.
I want to be active. I want to be out experiencing life.
And you can't. You're
being
trapped.
able to walk. Yeah.
So no limitations, no health issues.
No. I went to Six Flags this summer, went on every single roller coaster.
Oh, God, I get motion sickness.
There was a time, Steve, I went to Six Flags and Batman ride. I couldn't fit in the ride.
Really?
I waited, this was in New Jersey, before they had the little seats out front. Waited 2.5 hours for a Batman ride. This was so long ago. And they're like pushing me in, trying to get me in. It's like, look at this fat fuck right here, And, talk about walking with your head down.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then, my mom's out there. She's like, how was the ride? I'm like, I never made it on it.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, but yeah, I went on the Batman ride.
I don't do roller coasters. I get motion sickness. You remember Rocky Point?
Oh, yeah.
They had to stop the octopus. I was on there. I threw up all over myself.
Really?
I started screaming. Yeah, I was like a little bitch.
That was, yeah.
I don't like, I'm not a motion guy. Like, I get vertigo. I get sick easily. So, I don't know. Yeah. Plus, I eat a lot of food. The last thing you want is a 5'6" weightlifting Italian thrown up all over you.
Yeah. Here comes a corn dog.
So, if people want to follow you, and I'm sure that they will after hearing this, how can they track you down on social media?
Well, they can follow me on Facebook.
I'm gonna put your link inside on all the videos. So.
Yeah, but I definitely, in addition to that, I plan on making a group to bring people together.
You absolutely should.
That that'll be pinned up on my Facebook that people can join.
And good news, Mike is actually interested in starting his own podcast soon, so I'm going to help him get that thing jump started. So be on the lookout for Mad Mikey's podcast. We'll come up with a different name.
Thank you.
It just rolled off the tongue. He's not really mad. He's very happy, actually, if you look at him.
No, angry, maybe.
All right, listen, Mike, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Dude, it was a lot of fun. It was really good to see you. It's unfortunate it's been so long.
Absolutely, such a pleasure.
From me and the audience, I can't tell you how proud I am of everything you've accomplished, man. It's a beautiful thing, and just keep it going.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you so much,
guys, so from the Bardi Shop,
Take
please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the page. I'll put a link to Mike's Facebook page in the description below. Thank you all for watching. Have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow.